I wouldn't necessarily say that you should be using it to do your homework, but then that's where I talk about like how there's a need for the education overhaul. The homework shouldn't be such that it could be generated by AI. It should be such that kids have to think and do it instead of asking AI. Like you can generate an essay using AI.
So, all right, I agree with you 100%. And where's the balance? There's a balance between AI can replace certain human jobs, and then there's a balance of we can't trust AI. As an employer, for your clients, I mean, how do you guide them on the difference?
When industries evolve faster than people can adapt, what happens next? Lance and I explore how AI is reshaping jobs, business, and the skills we'll need for the future. Let's get started.
Lance, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for a little bit of your time. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this conversation. This is terrific.
I'm looking forward to this. This is like a learning experience for me. I don't know much about the vehicle industry, so it'll be cool. My husband wants to buy a pickup truck, he keeps stopping him from that, so it'll be good to learn.
Don't stand in his way. Let the poor man have what he wants.
But we live in a city. Why do you need a pickup truck? So
Yeah, no. Give me his email. We'll sort this out. No problem at all. We can do this. Look, again, thanks for a little bit of your time. We have been building vehicles in the United States for about 15 years. We've been building them here. And we built them in Australia, and we built them in all sorts of places. So it's really interesting as we've changed our operations. I actually think this is a terribly interesting conversation, and I think it's a terribly interesting topic at a very interesting time in the world. Our world is changing very dramatically, that we are having an interesting time in the economy, and that was about changing the operations of EarthCruiser, where we were building absolutely everything in-house. We had a lot of subcontractors, but we were building all of our vehicles. Lovely town called in Bend, Oregon, and we were really struggling to remain competitive. The industry that we are in, which is recreational vehicles, more towards overlanding, remote travel, rather than, I would say, destination travel, where you'd go to a caravan park or an RV park. Customers would typically go to more remote places and be more self-sufficient, meaning that our vehicles had to be built differently. So that part of the recreational vehicle industry has grown, becoming uncompetitive, even though we were one of the early companies building like that. Was very difficult for us. We were watching our dream crumble before our eyes. Something that we had helped create, we were being left behind with. I think there's an interesting analogy here, particularly with AI at the moment. People have had entire professional careers. They are the ones that actually, in a sense, help create AI, and they're also the ones now being most vulnerable by losing from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're getting replaced by what they created.
Exactly. And I can really feel that in a very dollars and cents way, where we had created a terrific group of people that we worked with, and we loved our crew, and it was just a wonderful place to work. We're becoming obsolete. That's not right. It didn't dramatically change how we're doing things. We were not going to exist at all, and we almost didn't exist. And I sense there's a lot of that going out everywhere, and it doesn't matter where you're from, and it doesn't matter. It's a global thing. People I talk to in different parts of the world, I'm sure you'd be the same, but he's just a little bit wary because it's scary, and I don't think people necessarily know the right path forward. Also, many owners who have been very successful, or anyway, they know what they're doing. All of a sudden, they don't know either. If you're in the job of you're supposed to know what's going on and you don't know what's going on, like having to learn the language Zorbian that's never existed before, but it's going to be what it's going to be.
It's a lot to keep up with. It's changing so quickly, like every week something new comes out. Exactly. And like it's thrown at you and you have to figure it all out.
And so generally speaking, what do people do if they don't know? Some people just say, look, let's just wait and see what happens. Is this another .com bubble thing that's just going to go away? Maybe. No, exactly. But how did you know? Way back when the .com thing was doing its thing, people were certain that everybody was going to get put out of a job. Absolutely certain that was going to happen. So I am not saying that it's exactly the same, but I'm just saying we are at probably really big crossroads of a great amount of uncertainty. Got some political uncertainty. We've got all sorts of things going on. It just seems everything is happening at once. It's a pretty interesting time to be alive. So I'm really curious with your profession and what you're doing. I mean, how do you talk to your clients about sorting out what's real, what's going to stick, what they should really be not worried about, where should they be putting their efforts on education right now? I mean, what do you tell your clients of, whether it be manufacturing, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I mean, what do you see as, the top 3 things to be paying attention to artificial intelligence right now?
I agree a bit with your point that there is a lot of hype because of the media. Like the jobs are going away, everyone is getting replaced. On the ground, like when I see the technology and like what the state of the art is right now, I feel like it is a useful technology. It's not all bubble, but there is hype. Useful, I've seen it getting ROI for people. But then if you might have heard about agents. Like everyone keeps talking about agents, AI agents are going to like replace humans. That's like overhyped by the media. Like these agents, they are not able to work unless you like narrow down the task and give it only like those things to do, because it doesn't understand the context as well as humans do, or like do the context switching as humans. So what I've seen it working in the best, for example, like one of the examples is like marketing, like sending out automated emails or writing blog posts, SEO optimization, personalizing your emails and messages to people, because it can go and like scrape the data, like look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their like whatever is on the internet, and like personalize the email. Okay, you spoke at this event last month. I'm excited to meet you and talk about it and learn from it. Would you book a call with me? So it's like a personalized message instead of like saying, oh hey, can you meet up with me? So you can do it. Opens up a lot of doors, but yes, it is limiting because this technology is not GI right now. It really cannot replace a human completely. It can replace only tasks, narrowed down task at this point. So it depends on like which client I'm talking to, how non-technical, which business, and honestly like sales, marketing, these are like the basic pillars that every business needs. Like I feel like every business has an opportunity to utilize this technology to make themselves more efficient.
Like when everybody wins $1 million. So if everybody's got $1 million, everybody's the same. Is it a little bit like that?
I don't know how it would change in the future. For example, like if everyone is making personalized emails, maybe I'll stop reading my emails, and maybe we will all have our own personal agents talking to each other instead of us looking at the emails. Like I've already seen this behavior change in which like people summarize emails. They just want like shorter emails because everyone is writing longer emails because they're using these models to write their emails, which are like really long. So like there would be a lot of like behavior change, and how it all settles down, even I'm not too sure.
I think, okay, it's pretty easy, I think, to realize that someone just put in ChatGPT, answer this question for me, and you're right, it prints out a lot of, nonsense half the time. But is that actual communication? I mean, is that really serving the purpose of getting one's point across, or saying, listen, okay, all right, I think I understand what you're trying to tell me. Is that really doing that, or is it just noise? And I've got a strong sense people are not interested in noise. They really want to know, how's it go? So many people are talking and nobody's listening. Is the AI, how do we make sure it's serving us, not just to fill in a gap, but to actually seriously communicate? I mean, I'm sure you get them too. I get nonsense, obviously AI-driven marketing emails all the time about, do I want solar panels on a building that's not mine? I mean, it's just nonsense, and I don't think it does the companies that much good, because I don't even bother to read the text of that email. It's nonsense. If they keep sending it to me often enough, I'll remember that company's name, maybe, and it's not going to be good for that company. Or it was easy for the little bot to do its cadence of emails to companies in such and such a place and all the rest. So it's very simple to do. But is it really a good idea? Is it really, am I getting a good first impression from that company? Me personally, absolutely not. Absolutely no way. If there was, I guess there's levels, and I guess this comes back to the education part. Is there levels of, as you said, agents where it can be really tailored? It can be really meaningful. Does that really exist? And are we just at the very early stages of people trying to understand how to use this technology for their applications? I mean, because if it's a little bit, going off half-cocked, is that because you can doesn't mean you should. Sometimes I'm not sure it's doing people the service that they think it is. I think it's doing them a terrible disservice.
Sometimes I feel like the use is unnecessary, but sometimes it is really useful. For example, like I am not a legal expert, but there is I did a car rental and there was an issue with that. Okay, I'm talking to their customer support. It is so useful, like giving that context to ChatGPT and asking it to like create the email, because it can use like the right legal terms, like I dispute this charge, and can you like I don't know the terminologies, but like I wouldn't know that. So the email seems more formal. Like if you look at I think OpenAI and Anthropic had released like reports recently in which they're talking about what the usage is like for their products, and like negotiations is one of the things people are using it for. Like not everybody's a legal expert, but these things like help. So they are filling good gaps wherever there are, and also like I've heard from like native non-native English speakers, it is really useful. Like earlier your email was a bit the outline was rough, and it would like make it finer and make it like more smoother before you send it out. So it's useful that way. And then the other thing, like you mentioned about agents, not everything is just email creation or like text generation. Some of those things are also like someone has to like download an Excel sheet, look at like one of the columns, and then compare that to another Excel sheet, and then see like if it's lower or higher or equal to, and based on that write the results somewhere. So like all of these steps could be automated.
Yep.
So, and that saves you a lot of time. Like you are not going into those tools and like downloading everything. So like it is useful, and I've seen the impact, but it's all about like not throwing AI unnecessarily into things.
I reckon that statement is the one of the best I've heard. Don't throw AI unnecessarily into things. I think that is, that you can make a sticker out of that or a T-shirt, because I think it's really important. And there's your thoughts on automating things and making it do the checks and balances. Yes, AI is very good at that. There's also an argument for particularly students. Once upon a time, that was their job. Somewhat grunt work when you're leaving university or whatever it was, and you're getting a part-time job. They were the jobs that the kids would get. And those kids' opportunities are probably going to get less in that. So they're just moving from learning to learn, then learning to work. So you give the young people a menial but important task just to see attention to detail, see if they show up in time. If those jobs aren't there anymore, on that. Thoughts on, because not everything's on a balance sheet. Not everything is, there is a human part of our reason for living, right? So, providing opportunity for people is one of the most rewarding things people can do. So, on that.
I totally agree with that. Like, what's happening right now? Like, if you look at the job numbers, the new grads, especially in like white collar roles, there's a decline in their hiring. I don't know what the companies are thinking, but like right now, what they're realizing is there's not a need for them, so they're not hiring them. But if you do not hire them and help them grow and teach them, how would you get like those senior engineers or senior whatever? Don't have the interns that you should be getting them into the company and starting to teach them. So there is like no a short-term thinking here. They're not thinking long-term, like what's going to happen to the pipeline of people coming and working for you. And I feel like what's happening is like one company does like a layoff, or say that they're laying off people because of AI. Other companies get the opportunity to do the same thing, and because like AI is so hyped up right now, share prices go up. Oh wow, they have figured out how to use AI and they're like becoming more efficient, and like everyone is using the same reason to like pay off a bunch of people as well. Yeah. So it's not just like new hires not getting hired and getting into the pipeline. Also like people getting laid off. And the reason is like they are their role is not replaced by AI. Their role could be replaced by AI, or they could not be taught AI. They could be more useful to the company.
Yep. So fast forward 5 years. I mean, 5 years travels fast, but 5 years of, as you said, building that pipeline, that's going to hurt some organizations. And unless the AI can really advance that much, I mean, do you see that as a reality? Where and forgive me, I mean, I'm certainly not any expert in any of this, but at all. But if the artificial intelligence doesn't have the pool of knowledge to draw from, potential that starts to, I shouldn't say dumb out, but can it get to a point where it can't draw that information anymore because the humans aren't making it anymore, so it's just regurgitating what it thought it already knew? Real?
It's already happening. It's been taught on all the data out there on the internet. And now they don't have any more data to like teach the AI on. So like what they're doing is they're making deals with companies so that they can get proprietary data, or they're hiring people to create their own data set. So there is a lot of that going on. And then also like I've heard this in coding as well. Like if you think about it, like AI right now, a lot of these models are like very well trained on coding tasks. Why? Because you can evaluate that task easily. You can run the code and figure out if it's working or not working. You can write test cases and see if it's passing or not passing. So a lot of these models have been like optimized for coding tasks. And then what's going to happen in the future? If you're going to replace these engineers, if you already train on all the good data, like how would you improve the code? Like right now it can like write good average code of like, because it all averages out, right? It can write code good enough as an average engineer. But like, how would you improve that? So like, it could be like, it could create the code and then like a good engineer sits on this code and like marks it and says, okay, this is wrong, this is good, this is not. And then a lot of these skills that humans have might get used to label data for these AI models so that they can improve. So if you think about it, you might have seen this in the news as well. All these companies, they want to hire like PhDs because that's the level they're training at. That's the problems they're trying to solve.
Fast forward 5 years. What do you think? What do you think you're going to tell your clients in 5 years' time?
I have no idea. So this technology changes so quickly. I'm not too sure what's going to happen, but like right now, what I'm seeing, I think it's overhyped right now. I think it's useful. It's not really completely a bubble, but I feel media is overhyping it quite a bit.
So if it does, and okay, I agree, it's not a bubble because we are all using it, and they've done a good job of that, and it's very difficult for us not to be involved in it one way or another. It's hard. What its value, whatever, beyond my level of understanding, I don't understand all that stuff, but a correction probably wouldn't be a bad move. It wouldn't be a bad thing in that the valuations seem crazy to me, and again, not my level of expertise at all, but a bit of a reality check wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think, on its capabilities and how much one should trust it.
I always end up asking people this question, like any AI system that you have built, how do you make sure the humans are able to trust it? Systems are probabilistic, like you want it to work all the time, make it deterministic, but like at the end of the day, like the model that's behind it right now, it's probabilistic. So, like if you would have noticed, like on ChatGPT, if you prompt me about to eat in Sydney, and same prompt again, it would give you two different answers. That's what I mean by probabilistic. Like you give the same input, but you get different answers. So how do you make a system that people are able to trust? That's one thing to think about, and that's where like it's difficult to make these systems reliable, and a lot of work goes around that, like making the scaffolding around these models to make them to put into production so that users can use it and they should be able to trust it. And honestly, like I think they are not able to, like you're talking about we shouldn't be trusting it. I think when you put a system out there and the system is saying, like in the chat message, it's saying, write anything, like ask me anything or write anything. It's not able to do it once, stop trusting it. Like you asked me, like You asked me to like ask you anything and you're not able to give me the answer. Now I wouldn't trust you again. So that's what the issue here is right now. Like people are not trusting systems as much around AI because they're not reliable. The other thing is we should be, this is where like the UI user UX piece comes in, like what's the experience like as a user? Like if you look in ChatGPT at the bottom, it says, do not trust the output or something like that. Like they're trying to make sure like they're asking you to not trust the system. But also the other end spectrum is basically people trusting it too much, like giving it all kinds of information, like care information, like personal information about themselves and asking it. I'm not sure like what's happening with the data, you know?
Okay, so two interesting things, I think. I mean, look something up on Google or whatever web search. I think we have been trained for a long time to believe the answer. There's been a behavioral change, I think, in how people information and believe the information. I mean, and I think we all know that in Google, the more you pay Google, the higher your whatever will arrive in the search. There's motivation there. We still trust it though. I think there is a behavioral change to trust the machines. I mean, it's not hard to see how that works with what we're talking about. Going back to the education of kids, and how does that work? I mean, again, in a business sense, in a manufacturing, whatever the business discipline is that on one hand saying not necessarily trust this technology. On the other hand, we're saying technology is the future, and we need to continue to develop it. We need to trust it. We need to continue to train it. Kids supposed to think. I mean, are they supposed to trust what they've been told and taught in school and what their boss tells them? Or are they going to be continually second-guessed by... I mean, if you're in charge of people, what are you supposed to tell them? I mean, and this is very much, I think, a symbolic thing. I mean, if you've got people who you're responsible for, professionally, but also obviously in a workplace, how are you supposed to say, look, I might be saying this, but I've been doing this for 30 years and this is how it actually is going to work. If you're a young person, that's going to be really hard, particularly if you've been constantly trained, whatever, on believing what's on the screen.
I think there is a need for a change in education paradigm, like how it's being taught right now. There needs to be an overhaul there. Like need to like understand what AI is and maybe like start using it with their workflow. It's like calculators. Like when calculators were introduced, people were worried about like not being able to do math. People who are not able to do math, some people are able to do it really well. And the other thing is like everyone has a phone on them. They want to do math, they have a phone on them and which has a calculator in there. So it's not like anyone is like drastically affected in their day-to-day life because they started using calculators early in their life. It goes for, I think, AI tools. Like if someone has access to it, they have an advantage over someone who doesn't. It's important to like start using it early enough so that you're able to figure out when to trust it and when not to trust it. Like you are able to like ask it questions and see how it behaves. So it's important to be introduced to it. It's not necessarily say that be using it to do your homework, but then that's where I talk about like how there's a need for the education overhaul. The homework shouldn't be such that it could be generated by AI. It should be such that kids have to think and do it. Of asking AI, you can generate an essay using AI.
All right, I agree with you 100%. And where's the balance? There's a balance between AI can replace certain human jobs, and then there's a balance of we can't trust AI. An employer, for your clients, I mean, how do you guide them on the difference?
Employer, I always suggest the company owners to please push your employees to start using these tools and explore them. There are a lot of these tasks that they can automate. It could just be as simple as doing like one of like a ChatGPT call or like any of the tools that they have already been using. If they're using Canva already, like you can generate images using AI within Canva. So all these tools are incorporating AI. So it would be nice. I would say like embrace the change. That's what everyone needs to do. So this is coming. There's a lot of money getting invested in this technology. So might as well like embrace it. Yeah. And like push your employees to start using it, you know. So it would just save them time so that they can spend that time on tasks that AI is not able to do.
So give me your top three of what AI is not able to do. What is it? What do you think that AI...
communication is like the first one. A lot of the tasks involves like I have to go speak to the product manager, and then I have to like speak to the stakeholders, or maybe the finance team, and figure this out, and then I can start working on the task. Or like, for example, like even for coding, for example, a software engineer's role is not just writing code. A lot of it is like speaking to other engineers, figuring out the architecture, looking at what the past logs look like, what were the past projects, what's the roadmap like for the company. So a lot of it is like looking at like 20 different things, speaking to like 10 different people, negotiating, and then coming to a plan, and then writing like a Jira ticket, and then creating the code and the testing and everything.
So, okay, so
what I'm saying is a job is a collection of tasks. And maybe a narrowed down task could be done by AI.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes tons of sense, actually. So, yeah, be human to the humans. We can't not do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And who do you think should be driving this? Should this be government driven? Is this industry driven? Who should be in the driver's seat of this technology, in your opinion?
It has to be industry driven, which is currently the case, but all the governments are getting involved because everyone wants their country to be ahead of the other one in terms of this technology. But industry is always fast moving because there is money involved. So yeah, but also there is a need for like the government to step up and like have these upskilling programs for people, at least the ones like who are currently being affected, to like learn this technology, start using it, or explore like different other domains. Yeah.
So on that, and I hate to use the word because I think it's very unfair, but it's the only one I've got at the moment. Emerging economies. Economies are, the world changes all the time. Once upon a time, everybody's ruled the world at one point in time and just goes round and round. So as different economies change through normal cycles, how do you see the AI playing out there? Where it's generally speaking, it's either climate or economy that really decides the wealth of a nation, and so as this new climate or technology, but as this new technology is coming along, what do you see in other nations, how they're applying it? Is it even? Is it a technology that you think will raise all nations, or do you see it as various opportunities where countries that are more industrialized, they may or may not be has much of an advantage? So some other nations where it's fairly been labor intensive, low technology. Now, will this technology help them for the betterment of their nation, or do you think it will make any difference? I'm not sure if I'm asking my question well, but I'm curious. I mean, this is a high labor nation. Is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
That's where you look into open source models. Open source models are basically, there are like, everyone calls their model open source, but like you have to release a lot of things. So there's a spectrum of open source models, but like open source model means like you don't have to pay for it. You can host it yourself. You can be the one like, for example, I'm from India, so like within like India, like they can host a model and they can start calling it and use it for their own things. Nobody can see what data is going in, what data is coming out. So that's where like it's nice if more companies release open source model. It lifts everybody up, like everybody can use that model. Closed source model, for example, is like the model behind ChatGPT. Like you don't know what the model is, like how big it is, how it was trained, anything about it. So that's the difference between open source and closed source. So open source is basically like anyone can use it. It's out there on the internet, available to anyone for free. They just have to like have a machine to host it on. So that's one thing. The other thing I'm also noticing is like a lot of like AI development in different countries is based on like the demographics in the country too. For example, in India, there are so many languages spoken in India. So a lot of development I'm seeing in India is happening like they're creating models for specific language, which is very interesting. So they are trying to cater to a demographic that nobody really cares about, like in North America. Like the models are like English, like they can also like they are multilingual in the sense they can speak in Spanish, French, I think a few other languages. But like the languages in India, like it doesn't make sense for them to support all the languages in India. So it would make sense for India to like create their own models for those specific languages. Because the population is so tiny, why would they cater to that specific language? But the population as whole in India is big, but like for a specific language, it's tiny enough that they wouldn't want to cater to it.
So does that mean people get left behind?
There would be people getting left behind, especially like when a country is developing, like they want to use their resources for like the basic needs, the needs, the day-to-day needs, and like improve the current economy. Like you need to have extra income to like spend it on something like AI as a technology. But a lot of these, what I'm also seeing is countries are prioritizing AI as well because everyone wants to compete on the world stage. So everyone is prioritizing it. But yes, like as a developing country, like if you think about it, like if you have a bunch of money, you would want to like rather spend it on the needs rather than something like AI for now.
So on a micro level, I mean, um, I've been fortunate to spend some time in India, and on a micro level, the people actually perhaps India is not a good example for what I'm trying to dig into. Maybe somewhere like maybe Indonesia. I mean, again, huge population, quite diverse, lots of things going on. Uh, it's not high on technology, but it certainly has a lot. But it's not known as a technological hub necessarily. Um, has some manufacturing, mostly agricultural. Certainly, it could be more mechanized, but that would certainly leave a lot more people behind. So, I guess my question is, do you see an application for artificial intelligence to make the average person's life better in non-industrialized countries? Education specifically, or no, I shouldn't say specifically. Is there a way that is it happening? I mean, I don't know. It's asking a question. You know, is artificial intelligence being applied so more kids get a better education in developing countries? That's probably a better way for me to ask my question.
I don't know. I'll have to explore that. Like, in India, like I was, my education was in government schools, which are like called public schools in North America,
Sure.
and there are like private schools in India, like which have like higher fee. I'm pretty sure they must have picked up AI. They must be like creating personalized lessons for kids. So I think there is a lot of opportunity in the space of education, and there are a lot of companies working there. To improve education for each student, especially in these countries which have like a higher population. Like there's like one teacher catering to 60 students. You
Yeah.
know, like if AI could help like personalize the lesson for each student, how useful would that be?
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge opportunity there, and there are companies working on it. I don't know the other thing like specifically about Indonesia. I think I was reading it somewhere. A lot of data centers are opening in Indonesia because it's like perfectly positioned, but I'm not sure it was Indonesia or some other country. But I think every country is getting impacted one way or another by AI. So that is there, and I also think like education is a big opportunity for AI. I feel like this podcast was basically I was the guest and you were the host. Are you using AI in any way in your company?
Yes. Oh, we should get around to that. Yeah, we are. We are. And again, because how we've changed what we're doing, and we've got a lot less people, yeah, we do use it. And as we're beginning the rehiring process, it's because we need different skill sets. It's very much top of mind. I mean, how the interview process goes, how we introduce the question of utilization of artificial intelligence is, and how to ask those right questions. I mean, people are happy to say they can use Word and Excel and everything else. Is your level of competence in artificial intelligence? How important is that in on one's resume? Is that a plus or a minus to a potential employer? And is that a plus or a minus in 5 years' time? Because we don't hire people for today; we hire them for tomorrow. So how important is that? And me personally, I'm trying to educate myself as much as possible how to ask those questions and understand the answer, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So I believe our world is constantly changing, and that's okay. That's the only thing we can guarantee. It's as we are changing for our company, as the CEO, how am I supposed to know what tomorrow looks like? Because that's actually my job. That's and so it's kind of interesting as we have transitioned for what we've done. We go, all right, there's some terrific marketing people that we want to hire. And do they embrace AI as a competitor, or do they see it as nothing but opportunity? And I think it's an interesting time. And I think there's a lot of knockoff effect in there, as there is a slow in hiring at the moment in North America, and particularly because, one, there's the general economy, but also because people, I think, are just not sure. They're not sure. There's a lot of uncertainty. And my guess is you'd be seeing a bit of that. And there's I think there's some lot of opportunity, but I think there's some pretty big holes out there too that we probably can't see yet. We're walking around the dark a little bit, I think.
Agreed. And is there any newsletters or any sources that you use to keep up with AI and learn about it?
Not in particular, no. No, not in particular. I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can that actually use it in real life. We have used it to write newsletters and stuff like that. And it wasn't our voice. As much as we sort of, as you said, train the agent, it still wasn't right. And something else I found sort of interesting is that the copy and paste, whether there seems to be, and again, I'm not a technical person, so I'm probably just obviously a neophyte, but as far as if you just use straight ChatGPT, you copy and paste and put into a Word document, it doesn't necessarily format correctly, or it's not smooth. And I'm noticing that, whether it be various social media posts, same deal. They're not necessarily smooth. And my guess is, and I don't know, is that there's some sort of clash there with some, I don't know, however they're not necessarily playing nice together. And I can see in the future maybe that there's going to be more of a collision with the different companies with the AI, the chat. It's going to be pretty clear whose side you're on. If it's a Meta, or if it's a ChatGPT, or if it's whoever it is, there's going to be a bit of a clash there on how seamless they integrate and who they start to silo as their customers. I can see that happening. Or if it's not happening already, probably, I don't know. But so, yeah, to answer your question, yes, we do use it, trying to learn from it, and then comes back to, particularly in marketing, a little bit in engineering, but primarily in marketing, how do we know how to ask the right questions for our future marketing executives? That's a lot. Sorry.
I think the issue that you were having with formatting might be because of the markdown format that it gives. Are you talking about like star? That the star shows up when you copy paste text from ChatGPT to anything else?
No, haven't seen that.
Sorry, your question. What should you ask to
Yeah.
to a
So,
marketing expert?
particularly marketing, and as we discussed, is that marketing has um, it's very important. Obviously, company message, have the right voice, branding, and if one was to let loose their marketing person using ChatGTP, it could have devastating results very quickly, or it could be fantastic. So, understanding how to hire the right people, it's tricky at the moment.
For AI related questions, I would like ask like what tools they are using. What do they know about AI? How is it doing? How do you improve something that's already there? How do they go about prompting? What do they put in a prompt? Like, do they do context engineering? Like, you would want to explain like what the company is, what the voice is, like you were talking about, how it did not work in your case. So, like are they able to like do they understand what prompt engineering is? Do they understand how to use these tools? So and what tools have they explored? Are they, I would say, are they proactive from their end in exploring tools? Because every day a new tool comes out, which like one day like a tool comes out which might be useful to you. So like are you active enough to like explore new tools by yourself?
Yeah,
So yeah, those, I think those would be questions I would be asking
yeah,
if I had to hire
and,
somebody.
and knowing the right answer is, the quality of the answer depends on the quality of the question. So, knowing what questions to ask is right now it's a learning curve for a lot of people. I mean, I know I'm learning. It's just a big learning curve, and as you've said, it's just happening so quickly. So once you think you've got your feet under it, something else pops up. But that's what it's like.
Yeah,
You know?
agreed. It's changing very quickly, and it's a lot to learn. But this was a good conversation, Lance. Like, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
there any way people can connect with you?
yeah. Easy. It's just Lance@EarthCruiser.com.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the description as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the call.